Shalom family, this is me, Mary C, coming to you yet again with another video. And so I have a question for you. Could you live without the internet, without your cell phone, without electricity? Could you? Could you survive? Would the first 24 hours be very difficult for you? Would it be so difficult for you that you'd be ready to pull your hair out? If you have teenagers and young children, how would they fare if we had no internet, if we had no electricity? So I want to talk to you today about the great disconnect. Grid down, whether it be EMP, which is electromagnetic pulse, or whether it be cyber attack or another source that would put us in a grid down situation. I want to know, how would we manage? How would we handle it? So I'm calling this the great disconnect. But you know, I always, and I'm hoping and praying that you guys are just like me, I always like to associate what's going on in current events with the Bible, so that I can kind of get a good idea of the timeline that we're living in. Okay, so I always like to connect them, and when you can see the events playing out from the Bible, then you kind of can sense or get an idea of the season. You know, the Bible tells us that we should be aware of the seasons that we're in, and not just winter, summer, spring, and such. No, when he says that we should be aware of the seasons, and you know, this is, I believe, Christ saying this. When he says that, he's saying so that we can know the times that we live in, so that we can tell when we are getting closer to the time of his return. So anyhow, so I'm calling this one the great disconnect. Grid down, and it's like boom, no more internet, no more electricity, the power's gone. So what I want to do is I'm going to come back to the actual impact of something like that happening in our day. But prior to that, I want to talk about why, well, somewhat why the Bible speaks of us going through terrible times. Okay, and it's really the judgment, and we have to consider that it is the judgment of the Most High God. Okay, and why is there judgment? Well, that really should be a whole nother video, but the judgment is because of the great sins that are, you know, I want to say performed. The great sins that are in this world today, okay? And so I want to talk about, like, and I've got my notes in front of me, extended loss of power of our power system. But I'm going to go back to that. Like I said, I want to talk first about the Bible. Now, you know, if you're on this channel, I'm going to talk about the Bible. You know, I mix it in with everything because of my faith. So let me read something to you from, and I'm going to refer to my notes on the side of me, from Revelations, that will talk a little bit and put me in the direction that I need to go in, okay? So I'm going to read from Revelation. So get your Bibles out. I'm going to read from Revelations, and I'm going to start with verse 20. I'm going to start with verse 23. Then I'll go up and then go back down, just so that we can kind of get a little bit of capture a little bit of the synopsis of what 23 is kind of talking about. So anyhow, 23. Revelations 18:23 reads like this: "The light of a lamp will never shine in you again, and the voices of a bride and bridegroom will never call out in you again. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. So now, we're talking about lights out. We're talking about power down, grid down, power out, right? So I want you to kind of put in your mind who this could be in the scriptures referring to, okay? So I'm going to read a little bit more. I'm going to go up to 22. So follow along with me. 22 reads, "And the sounds of harpists and musicians, of flute players and trumpeters will never ring out in you again, nor will any craftsman of any trade be found in you again, nor the sound of a millstone be heard in you again." And then I'm gonna skip down to verse 24. So I'm surrounding verse 23 here. "And there was found in her the blood of prophets and saints and of all who had been slain on the earth." Okay, and then I want to cross-reference it so you know that we talk about prefacing or precepting the word. So if you get one, you want to go ahead and precept it with 2 to 3 witnesses. So I wanted to read also from you so you can kind of get an idea where I'm going. And again, we're talking about the wrath of the Most High God, okay? So I'm reading from Isaiah 47, and this is verse 9. "These 2 things will overtake you in a moment, in a single day, loss of children and widowhood. They will come upon you in full measure, in spite of your many sorceries and potencies of your spells." And I'm going to come back to that word sorcery so that you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. And let me read a little bit more. Jeremiah 25:10. "Moreover, I will banish from them the sounds of joy and gladness, the voices of the bride and bridegroom, the sound of millstones, and the light of the lamp." And again, that goes back to what was read in Revelations 22. And Nahum 3 and 4. Nahum chapter 3 verse 4. "Because of the many harlotries of the harlot, the seductive mistress of sorcery, who betrays nations by her prostitution and clans by her witchcraft." So I want to go back to the sorceries. So I'm going to go back to my notes. So I read to you Revelations 18 and 23, and it spoke of sorcery. Okay, sorceries. All right. In Greek, it's pharmakia. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but it translates to medications and poisons. So think about that. Medications and poisons. That's what sorceries is referring to when we read it in the scriptures. Pharmakia in the Greek, and it translates to medications and poisons. Where are we at today? Medications and poisons. Okay? So, again, we're talking about the judgments, upcoming judgments that are here on this earth today, and those that are coming of the Most High God. So I don't know if I got a chance to read Isaiah 13. I did not. Isaiah 13, 11 through 13. So let me pull that up real quick. So bear with me. Of course, now it doesn't want to work. I remember I said that it was doing its own thing just a few seconds ago. Well, guess what? Guess what? My keyboard is up, but it will not let me type. Go figure. So I'm going to get out of that one and open up another one and see what happens with the next one. Bear with me, people, my family. Bear with me. I had to go completely out. And let's see what happens now. So I set Isaiah 13 and 11 through 13. And let's read that. Okay. So Isaiah 13 reads, 13:11, beginning at 11, it reads, I will punish the world for its evil, the wicked for their sins, and I will put an end to the arrogance of the haughty, and will humble the pride of the ruthless. I will make people scarcer than pure gold, more than the gold of Ophir. Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will shake from its place at the wrath of the Lord Almighty in the day of his burning anger. So again, like I said, I was talking, I don't know why the system decided to act up and didn't want me to read that, but we're talking about the judgment of the Most High God. We're talking about pride and arrogance, and for the reasons of why the wrath of the Most High God is coming down on earth. And I want to talk specifically about the daughter of Babylon. Okay, specifically about the daughter of Babylon. It will impact the whole world, but I want to talk about the daughter of Babylon. And there were some questions that came up in the comment section of some of my other videos regarding Babylon. And I believe that some people thought that when I was talking about Babylon, I was talking about the whore. That's the whore that is mentioned. That's the mighty one. And no, that's not who I'm talking about. I'm referring to the daughter of Babylon. And the daughter of Babylon, most people will tell you, is America. So that's where I want to bring this focus, is to America. And once I read some of the references to the daughter of Babylon, maybe then you too, if you don't already know it or recognize it as the daughter of Babylon, maybe this will help you to see why so many people consider America or the United States the daughter of Babylon. Okay, so I'm going to read you some of the characteristics of the daughter of Babylon. Okay, and then I want to talk about what's going to happen to the daughter of Babylon. But I'm going to talk about the characteristics first. And hopefully I'll remember, because you know I go kind of backwards and forwards and I forget the train of thought. So hopefully I'll remember to go back and talk a little bit about why. So anyway, the daughter of Babylon is a powerful end-time nation. It's the youngest of the great nations, born of a motherland. It's composed of a mixed multitude, and we know this place as a melting pot of nationalities, right? It's considered wealthy and the center of commerce and production. We control most production, most commerce. Not so much production, but we don't do the production here, manufacturing like we used to, back in the day, but we do control what goes on in the world with it because we control it with tariffs and such. Okay? It is a nation west of Jerusalem, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. It's a nation of great consumers, with many ships filling her harbors. And I do believe that I'd read, and don't quote me on this one, but I do believe that I read that the United States was like one of the largest consumers of goods, and we waste an awful lot, more than other countries. But anyways, so a nation of great consumers. It is a land fully developed and mapped with cities. And this nation is referred to as a she because she is the daughter of Babylon. She is the daughter. So she will become preoccupied with pleasures, luxuries, high education, and drugs. Again, we're going back to the sorcery as it was written. She will become arrogant, prideful, with little to no respect or need for the Most High God. This is where we're at today. She will give herself over to the occult practices of the devil. She will establish abominations and perversions as norms. All we have to do is turn on the television. Look at the music videos. I mean, you name it, you can see it. It is all over. Her leaders' sins will be exposed for the world to see. So this daughter of Babylon, it says that because of the coming terrorism, the scripture says that great multitudes of people who were once termed immigrants that made this country, the daughter of Babylon, their homes, will flee and return to their homelands. So this is something that is prophesied to occur. So this is the daughter of Babylon according to the scriptures. And again, I'm going to go back here and I want to talk a little bit about why, some of the reasons why. Let me see if this will let me do it this time around. I'm going to try and pull up. So if you're going to read along with me, I'm going to try to pull up Genesis 15, chapter 15, verse 13. Oh, it let me do it. Okay, now this is what was told to Abraham. Before he was Abraham, he was Abram at this point in time. But this is what was told to him by the Most High. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. And many will teach that this is the time frame when they were in, during the time frame when Joseph was in Egypt. It is not. This is talking about a future time. Those 400 years were literally up in 2019. And there's a whole lot of history, a whole lot of documentation. There's a whole lot written about the real 400 years in this history that is spoken of in this scripture. So look it up. I can't do that lesson today, but look it up. There's a whole lot out there. If you want to talk about or learn about, if you want to learn about Abraham and his descendants, look up the 400 years in bondage, that his descendants would be in bondage, and you'll find a whole lot of of information out there, some good information out there. So anyways, so it's telling us that Abram's descendants would go into slavery, and they would be afflicted for the 400 years. So the Most High is pouring out his judgment in the end, and a lot of it has to do with that time frame and what went down with his people being afflicted. So a lot of that is part of why we are going to go through the judgment of the Most High God today and then going forward. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So this upcoming judgment has a lot to do with Israel, has a lot to do with what was done to Israel. And I don't want to really get too deeply into that, but know this. Oftentimes when you hear Bible experts talk about the coming judgment of the Most High or God, they speak of things like, and not that I'm negating them, because they are part of this, but it's not the end all be all. There are many things that the Most High is angry about, many things. But if you read the scriptures, you will find out that one of the major things that he's angry about is what has been done to his people. When it comes time to talk about the sins of this world, abortion is one of those things that they throw up as sin. They talk about homosexuality. They talk about, all these other things that are listed in the scriptures, but they never really touch the surface of the people that have a covenant with the Most High, and the scriptures that pertain specifically to the punishment of those who have afflicted the people. And we need to address that. Not a lot of preachers, teachers, or not a lot of people address that. So I'm not going to go deeply into that, and I kind of got sidetracked on what I was really trying to talk about. But anyways, I went to Genesis 15, and I talked about that, and I'm going to go once to, and I hope that was pretty clear. If not, send me an email. I'll see if I can try to clear it up a little bit better. So I'm going to go to Jeremiah 16, and I'm going to read verse 14 and 15. And again, this talks to the children of Israel. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. And Egypt is considered the land of bondage, so wherever they were in bondage at. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north. So we're not talking about Egypt, the actual physical Egypt. We're talking about a land of the north, and from all of the lands, which is more than just one, so it can't be just Egypt, all of the lands where they have been driven. And let me read it like it says. And from all the lands whither he had driven them, and will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Now, whither he had driven them. So who shipped them off, or who sent them to the different lands, to the north and to the other lands? That was the Most High God. Why? Because they angered him. They angered him, and this was part of the punishment. And it's also part of why they were afflicted for the 400 years. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this judgment that is upon us. We're talking about all of the things that are going on in the world, all of the bad things that have been happening. but no one is saying why these bad things are happening. No one is saying, we talk on a level every day of, do good to people so that, karma comes back to you and good will come back to you. We say that all the time, and we always say karma doesn't lose an address. So if you've done something, it's going to come back at you. So, we always teach that put good vibes out there and the good vibes will come back to you. Well, one of the things that I don't hear often is people talking about all of the bad things that are going on in the world, okay? Do we not think that all of the dirty, evil, scheming, and greediness, and all of those evil things will never, ever be atoned for? They people will never, ever see judgment or justice. It's coming. It has to happen. It has to happen. Now, I talked about the daughter of Babylon. And again, the world, there are nations that are going to be part of the judgment of the Most High. There are nations, because the nations conspired against his people, that for one. And then the nations are steeped in sin, just like the daughter of Babylon. But the daughter of Babylon is a specific nation, or I'm going to say nation, even though it's a mixed multitude of nations in this one place. But the Bible is, or the scriptures are specific about the end of what is going to happen to the daughter of Babylon. So I talked to you about characteristics of the daughter of Babylon, and I told you that towards the end, when the terrorism begins to go rampant here, that those that we had at one time considered immigrants will flee, return to their homelands. And it could mean that some of those who have come here from Europe as well will hightail it out of here, because this is not their original homeland. So it's not just going to be those that are that have recently immigrated to this country. I believe it's going to be all those who were not native to or not indigenous to this land will up and book it back home, if you will, during that time frame. So let me get my bearing here. So, and then I want to talk to you, and I know this is kind of, I'm taking you off a little bit, but I'm hoping that I can bring it all back and get back to grid down and how that correlates to the Bible. I'm hoping that I can do that. So I'm going to go back out now, and I want to talk to you about the book of Revelations, okay? I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to try to go through this because I'm already going, but I'm going to take my time. I asked the Holy Spirit to help me with this, so I'm going to take my time and try to make it as clear and as plain as possible. And so I want to talk about the book of Revelations. Have you ever wondered about the seven seals? Have you ever wondered about the seven bowls? Let me talk to you about those a little bit. And I'm just going to do a brief overview. Okay, so we have the seven seals. First, let me say this. This is phase 1 in Revelations, phase 1 of what we can expect to happen. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can break it down as best I can. Okay, in my mindset, let me see if I can break it down. So, phase 1, 7 seals. Okay, first one is conquest. This is what we're expected to see, conquest. When the second seal is open, we will see war. And tell me if, in the comments section, if you're seeing this happening and where you think we are, okay, on this timeline. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Seal number 1, conquest. Seal number 2, war. Seal number 3, famine. Seal number 4, death. Seal number 5, it says the martyrs will be given white robes. In seal 6, we will see a super earthquake like no other. And we will see dark skies. It's going to be like perpetual night. And we'll also see stars fall to the earth like meteorites. Okay? Seal 7, silence in heaven for half an hour. So that's phase 1. And you know what I'm going to say about this? I've got them separated into three phases. I have them separated into 3 phases. No, I'm sorry, 4 phases. However, I'm not sure if they are to happen consecutively or if we're going to see it, all over the world at one time, or if we're going to see it in increments and some areas will see it in this time and some areas will see it that time. I think the most of the time when people teach on this, it's consecutive. I don't think it's really going to be that way, but that's just me speaking. I don't really think I think we're seeing it. But anyways, let me go on. So that was phase 1 and the 7 seals. 7 trumpets, phase 2. The first trumpet will sound, and we'll hear, and we'll have fire and hail rain down on the earth. So 1/2 of the green life vegetation will burn. And again, I go back to, haven't we been seeing this going on? Haven't we been seeing this already? Anyways, second trumpet. Mountain-like objects will fall into the sea, will cause 1/3 of the ocean to turn into blood, and 1/3 of the sea creatures will die. The third trumpet. Star falls from heaven, which is called wormwood, to the rivers, and it will contaminate all of the fresh water sources, and they will become bitter and toxic. When the fourth trumpet sounds, 1/3 of the sun goes out, and we go into darkness. When the fifth trumpet sounds, an angel with a key will open up the bottomless pit, and it will release dark smoke and then a strange locust-like things. Because I'm not going to say they're really insects, because they're supposed to be giant, okay? They equipped with a plague, and they will cause torment, and people will wish to die because of this torment that they're going to be in, but they won't be able to die. And when the sixth trumpet sounds, 4 angels will kill 1/3 of humans. When the seventh trumpet sounds, songs will be sung in heaven, and there will be lightning. Okay, so that's phase 2. Phase 3 will have a red dragon come on the scene, and this red dragon is weird looking. It will have 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, and what's going to happen when the red dragon comes on the scene, it will cast 1/3 of the stars down from heaven, and this is Satan. Okay, and Angel Michael will fight with Satan. He will overthrow him, and he will cast him down to the earth, and the land will swallow him up. Okay, That's the first beast, that red dragon. The second beast, or should I say, two circled beasts. One's going to come from the sea, and the other one's going to come from the earth. Okay, so let's talk about the one from the sea. The one that comes from the sea is going to come up blaspheming God. He's going to be blaspheming the Most High God. Okay, and people would begin to worship him. I know that sounds crazy, but this is written, it's prophesied. People will begin to worship this beast. And then the one that comes from the earth, he's going to come promoting the other beast. Okay? He's going to come out of the earth, and he's going to promote the second, or that first beast that I was talking about that was blaspheming the Most High God. And he's going to come out. He's going to support that beast. He's going to promote that beast. He's going to, to lift up that beast, and he's going to perform magic. He's going to trick the masses. He's going to perform magic. This is the false prophet. This is the Antichrist. Okay, he is going to be the one that he will get followers, and they will be marked by him. They will have the mark of the beast, which is 666. Okay, so in their foreheads. So that's what they're, will need to buy or sell. If you don't have that mark, you won't be able to do that. So that's phase 3. Now, let me talk about the 7 bowls that are going to be poured out. And this is the 7 bowls. This is God's wrath, okay? The Most High God's wrath. When these bowls are poured out, when the first one gets poured out, it will bring sores and boils. Now, we just did phase 3. And in phase 3, we had this is part of phase 3, I'm sorry. This is part of phase 3, because in the last part that I just spoke about, we had the mark of the beast, where the 666 was put on the forehead of those followers of the Antichrist. So, in the 7 bowls, the wrath of God, now we're going to start seeing sores and boils. The painful sores and boils will mark or afflict those that have the mark of the beast. Okay? And then when the second bowl gets poured out, the whole sea will turn into blood. The third one, all of the fresh water will turn into blood. When the fourth bowl gets poured out, the sun's heat will intensify and it will scorch people. Okay? When the fifth bowl gets poured out, it will cause the kingdom of beasts. It will cause the kingdom of the beast to go dark. So this is the Antichrist kingdom, and the other beast that he was promoting. This is the dark kingdom. It will cause this to go dark, and it will cause political upheaval and instability. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing some of that stuff right now. But anyhow, when the sixth bowl gets poured out, and that's kind of why, if you kind of read some of these, you can kind of see, I can kind of see some of these events occurring, even though it's not consecutive as it's being read. So anyways, when the sixth bowl gets poured out, the river Euphrates dries up, and a battle of the world's army will begin, and that is the battle in Armageddon. When the seventh bowl gets poured out, we'll see lightning, hailstorms, and there will be a massive earthquake that will destroy Babylon. That is all phase 3. Phase 4. That first beast and that second beast that we spoke about, they're going to be captured by God's army. and they're going to get sent to the lake of fire. And that dragon, Satan, is going to be locked up for 1,000 years. During that 1,000 years, our Messiah will reign as king here on earth. Now, 1,000 years later, Satan will be released. And he and his armies will be defeated with a blast of holy fire. And they will be cast also into the lake of fire with the other beasts that were already cast into the lake of fire. And what happens after that? We get a new Jerusalem. We'll have harmony, we'll have peace, we'll have joy, and we'll have love. But there's a whole lot that's going to happen here on this earth before we get to go to the new Jerusalem. And so that was kind of a quick synopsis of the things that are written in the book of Revelations of the things to come, right? So going through all the seals, the bowls, and what have you. So the question is, how do you survive all of this, right? I'm going to come back to how do we survive all of these happenings. I'm going to come back to that. So I'm kind of going back to the beginning. What did we talk about? We were talking about the great disconnect. Where is this in our book of Revelations? Well, when I hear about the darkness, and I read a couple of scriptures to you about the darkness, I believe that we're going to have an extended period of time where we're kind of going to go back to manually living, where we won't have the power, we won't have the internet, we won't have cell phones, we won't have electricity as we know it today. We won't have running water as we know it today. So what happens, people? What happens, my family? What happens if we are in that position where we are for an extended period of time without power? Is this the judgment of the Most High God? Is this part of the judgment? Well, my answer to you would be yes, it is. It is part of the judgment. Now, he wants his people to be prepared. And I think that's why he has so many watchmen and so many messengers, prophets and prophetess that are out there to lead the way, to put the alerts out, to put the warnings out, to talk to you guys about what you will be facing, to talk to you about getting ready. Excuse me, get comfortable here. To get ready. So if we have a boom and the grid goes down, what happens? What happens? Well, let me talk first about what could cause us to go and what can cause a grid down situation. It could be, again, like I said, a EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. It could happen due to a cyber attack. And at this point in time, that could be likely too. We are looking at war at our doorsteps right now. Okay, so that could be a way that grid could go down. It could be due to weather, and aren't we having some extreme storm conditions this winter? And not even just this winter, spring we had some extreme weather conditions. So summer we had some extreme weather conditions, and it seems like to me it's not getting any better. So it could be due to weather, climate, extreme heat. Could be a solar storm that takes us down. Could be, and the solar storms is what they call a CME. coronal mass ejection. And I'm sure you've heard some people talking about that. So it could be from that, or again, it could be warfare, terrorism, a cyber attack, or it could be a nuke. So any of those, and our grid could go down. Any of those, and our grid could go down. And then just tie into that, just like what happened in Texas, our grids are old and have not been updated or upgraded. So wear and tear and just oldness could have an impact on our grid going down as well. So if it did happen, and I say if, but I really shouldn't say if, I should say when it happens, because most of the experts that talk about the possibility of a grid going down, our grid going down, they say it's not when, or if they say it's not if, they say it's when. So we can expect something like this to happen sooner or later. The grid goes down and we're disconnected from the world and our families at that point. What would be the impact? Well, I have bullet pointed a few items, and one would be it would impact our healthcare system. It would impact banking. It would impact our transportation. I don't know if you can hear my husband yawning in the background. Sorry about that. Anyways, so let me go back. It would impact our healthcare. It would impact our banking. It would impact our transportation. It would shut down imports. It would, because of the U.S. dollar, it would it would crash our global market because of the U.S. dollar. It would weaken our national security. We would be at risk at that point in time from outside threats and attacks. It would impact our sewer systems. Folks that are relying on the machines to stay alive, that's part of the health care, but folks that are relying on machines to stay alive, it would be difficult to keep those going even if we were using generators. There's only so much and so far that those can actually go. So it would impact that. We would probably lose our running water. We would have no internet, no phone calls would be available. We would probably lose our what is it called? Service providers, the police systems, the fire systems. We would lose those type of services as well. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And if I have missed something, just add it, please. Add it, as you always do, into the comment section. But these are just some of the areas that we would be impacted in the event that we did have a grid down situation. So, I mean, think about it. Our sewer systems would fail. People would struggle. It would depend on the type of season or the season that we were in when this happened. So it would impact us a little differently if it were summer, as opposed to winter. It would affect us a little differently. The impact would be a little different. And what you would have to do to survive would be a little different based on the weather conditions that we're also dealing with. So sewer systems would fail. People would struggle to heat their homes if it was wintertime, or they would fail to cool their homes if it were summertime. Um, the entire banking system would be affected and it would fail. Um, you won't be able to, and this is what I was saying beforehand, you won't be able to contact emergency services. You won't be able to contact your friends and your family by phone because we wouldn't have the phone communication available. You wouldn't be able to, communication would be limited if we had it at all. When I say communication, I mean the network or broadcast communication systems would probably fail. So we may not have radio access or communication that way. You would hope that we'd have some kind of emergency system set up. But I'm saying don't count on it. But keep your radios, the crank ones. Keep your radios, get some if you don't have them, and keep them available in the event that something like this happens, just in case there is some form of communication to stay abreast of what's going on. So we would lose the communication broadcast system. That would fail us. Cell services, I already said that. Our water services would fail. Not just the sewer, but also our drinking water services would fail. Buying and selling would almost be impossible. So for the stores that would remain open, so many of them have gone electronic. They run everything based on having electricity. So if you wouldn't be able to use your credit cards, you wouldn't be able to use a debit card or anything like that. So buying and selling would almost be impossible. So if you are one of those people who you don't carry cash and you didn't put any cash to the side, it would be very difficult for you to do to buy or sell anything. You might be able to do some trades or something like that with other people, but you wouldn't be able to get food, your gas, medication, or other supplies. It would be almost impossible. And most people, in truth, and it's not funny, but most people in truth, because of circumstances, and for some it's because of circumstances. They just don't have the funds to go out and stockpile and put food up and save food for a rainy day. They just have not had time to prep, or not time, they have not had the funds to prep. So for those who have not had the funds to prep, who are under the cover of the Most High, they won't have to worry. I truly believe they won't have to worry. But then you're going to have those who have decided that they're not going to prep. They're not under the cover of the Most High. They just didn't do it. So you're going to have people like that too. So you're going to have a lot of people who will only have enough food to last them a few days. And if we're talking an extended period of time without power, with the grid going down, with our supply chains being, at that point, they would be broken, our supply chain. So you're not going to have, and I already mentioned transportation, so the trucks are not going to be coming in with new load of food to go to the grocery stores, or wherever you're shopping at. You're just, or supplies. You're not going to have that. That's going to be a system that's broken as well. So what is that going to cause? That's going to cause us to face some pretty desperate people. And desperate people do desperate things, and they do unspeakable things. And if our emergency systems, our emergency services are not available to us, we're pretty much going to be on our own to defend ourselves. And it's just something to think about. Think about these things. It will be at that point in time, survival of the fittest. People will get to the point where if they are hungry If their children are hungry, they will do things that they previously had not done. I mean, a good example of that, it takes me to the show The Walking Dead. And, early on, you had Rick and, the rest of the group, minus Shane. But early on, Rick and the rest of the group, they would hesitate before they harmed someone in order to get food or supplies, the supplies that they needed. They tried to avoid that as much as possible for the most part. And I think that most good people will do that. But when you get to the point where you're desperate, and it becomes I want to survive, and it's between you and me, I think people at that point will change, and they will no longer be the good, kind people that we see or know today. Desperate times, will create desperate measures for some people. So I do want to say that, and let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. So we have, and I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the 400 years, so I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to talk about that, and then I'm going to move forward. But since it's in my head right now, let me talk about it. The 400 years that the scriptures mention about the Most High's covenant people being in bondage and being in bondage in Egypt. And we mentioned that Egypt was considered bondage. It's not necessarily the physical place, but the 400 years. And it's not the time frame. What I didn't say was I mentioned Joseph, but it's not that time frame. If you were to include the time that Joseph was in Egypt and the time that Moses was also in Egypt, it does not add up to the 400 years. So that is not the time frame that is mentioned in the scripture that I read to you guys. And that's one of the reasons why I was saying, go and do your homework and do some research on the children of Israel being afflicted for 400 years. And then read up on the affliction ending in the year 2019. So I just wanted to bring that in because I just mentioned Joseph, and it's like, no, it's not just Joseph. It's during that time period, Joseph was involved and Moses was involved, and that's where a lot of people like to blend that together and try to get 400 years. But there's enough studies out there that say it was not a total of 400 years. It was something like a little over 200 and something years. It was not 400 years, so that was not the time frame. So anyhow, get back to the grid down. And us getting to the kingdom eventually. So how do we survive all of this? We've got the judgment of the Most High on us, and we don't question why. For the most part, as I said beforehand, why are we being judged? What have we done to bring this on ourselves? And we don't stop and we don't think that we've done so much. There's so much blood that has been shed just here. Remember I said I'm not really going to talk about the world, although the world, other nations will be involved in this judgment. I wanted to discuss our country, or my country, which is the United States, America. America has so much blood on its hands. It's not the only nation, so don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. But for this particular place, it has a lot of blood on its hands. There's so much sin in this place. It is said that it was founded on God. This United States was founded on God, and it is a godly nation. That is a lie. That is a lie. This nation was founded on greed. Greed. It was founded on a belief and a foundation of and from the devil. It has survived this long not because of the good that it's done. It has survived this long because of the plans of Lucifer and the plans of the Most High God. You remember, he knows the beginning from the end. He knew the plan of Lucifer. And this place was part of that plan. It had an opportunity to do right, but chose to do wrong. It had an opportunity when they were what the folks that are considered by others to be the founding fathers of this place were putting together the amendments and the constitutions and everything. What they were doing was putting it together for one group of people, not for all. So they were, what do they say? They were speaking out of the sides of their mouths. They were not being upfront and honest when they were writing those things, the Declaration of Independence and all of that. No, they were not. It was not meant for all of the people of this country. It was not meant for the indigenous people of this country. And when I speak of the indigenous people of this country, I am speaking of those that are known today as Native American. I would be considered Native American. People who look like me were and are indigenous to this country. Look it up. Many people do not want to face the truth. The truth of the matter is this. There are many who came here on slave ships that we can call ancestors. People who look like me, we can call them ancestors. But the truth of the matter is not all of the people who look like me came over on slave ships. Some were already here prior to Columbus. Those are the Native Americans that are written of old. If you go to the ancient documents, the ancient texts, they give you a description of the indigenous people of this country. They had afros, many of them. They were copper colored, dark, like me. You won't get this from the history books. This is part of why the Most High's wrath will come down on this country, because of so many lies. They've lied so much. There's lie on top of lie on top of lies. There's so many lies that they would have a really, really difficult time backing out of it, because it's just a cake on top, one cake on top, layer cake on top of another layer cake of lies. And so America has a judgment that is going to be unlike any of the others. It is written, this is the daughter of Babylon, and the judgment will hit and has been hitting already. We have already been seeing it. We have already been experiencing it, and we're going to experience even more. And there is a reason for it. It's not just happening because, we're having climate change or whatever reasons that you hear them talking about. That's not why it's happening. You need to relate it to the Bible. The Bible speaks of the end times and the things that will happen because of the end times. And when people look at the end times, they think of sins like lying and murdering and all this. All of that is important, and it's very true that those are sins that will come back to bite us. Yes, those are sins that will come back to bite us. But there is a group of people that this nation, as well as some of the other nations, will be punished for because of the affliction that they put on a group of people that the Most High God has a covenant relationship with. That has to be dealt with. It's not something that you can, and here's the thing about it. that that people that the Most High God has a covenant relationship with are still to this day being afflicted. When will that affliction stop? That affliction will stop when the Messiah comes. That affliction will stop when the Messiah comes. And no group, and no nation can save this group of people. Only the Most High God can save this group of people, because nowhere, no way will they be able to say anyone took them out of bondage and their afflictions but the Most High God. He and He alone will be responsible for changing that judgment that was once upon those people who He has a covenant relationship with, to freeing them from that bondage. He is the only way. He is the only one that can do that. So, a lot of what you're seeing that is occurring today and that is going to occur in the future has a lot to do and is tied directly to that group of people that the Most High God has a covenant relationship with. Now, that does not mean, and I want to stress this, that there will be others, other nations, other people from other nations that will go into the kingdom. I've said this before, and I'll repeat it as often as I need to. He will continue to have His relationship, the Most High, with His covenant people. He promised Abraham, and our father is not a man that he should lie. He promised Abraham that he set up the covenant with him and Abraham's seed. That will never go away. It will never go away. And because it will never go away, that means that if the church, people will say this all of the time, the church does not replace God's covenant people. The church can come in and be saved and go along with the covenant people, but they do not and never will replace the covenant people. So who can be saved? Anyone can be saved, so long as they believe they can be saved. And of course, there's steps that you must take. There are steps that you must take, but it is not reserved just for the Israelites or the covenant people. It is not. It is said in the scriptures, just go through and read it. It is said in the scriptures that those that come and cling to Israel will be or can be saved. But Israel remains, or God's covenant people will remain. So in a grid down situation, we can be assured that we will have cover from the Heavenly Father. We can be assured of that. Will we have the darkness? I truly believe that we will have the darkness, and we will have to learn how to maneuver through a time without electricity, without the ability to communicate one with the other as we do today. Yes, we're going to have to go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. You know, I've said it many times on this channel. We are going to need to learn to go back to the basics. Get your skill sets. Build them up now while you can. You're going to have to, at this point in time, have a mindset. Whether it's a short term or long term, you're going to have a mindset that you keep on a positive level, because your mind during a time like that will determine your survival. So stay busy. Keep your mind set on positive things. Security. Secure your homes. You don't want someone just to come in and try to take your supplies. or your lives, the lives of your family members or yourself. So you're going to have to make sure that you have your security up to snuff. Okay. I mentioned the little crank radios. If you haven't got one, get one, because if we do have some form of emergency communication that or broadcast communication that can kind of give us an idea what's going on in the world, you want to stay informed, okay? And have the basics, your food, your water, and know that you're going to need to ration them to survive. Get your seeds now so that whatever season you're in, you can begin to grow your own food. And then create in your home, if you're going to be there for a little while, create a central space in your home. If you're not going to be able to use all of the levels, of a house or all of the rooms, and of course this also depends on the season that the grid goes down in. If it's winter, you want one central area that you can keep warm, or if it's the summer, a central area that you can keep cool. So create a central living space for you and your family. And then you're going to have to consider waste management. If you don't have the plumbing functioning the way, we're used to it, you're going to have a way to move that waste outside of the house. Get rid of it in the best way that you can, possibly do it. You want to make sure that every time you leave your home that you are practicing situational awareness. You're looking around you. You're trying to keep up with, what's going on as best as you possibly can in your neighborhood, so that you're safe when you leave and you're safe when you come back, and that you can keep your home safe while you're away. Okay, so you want to do that. So fortifying your home for an extended period of time. Again, we're talking about desperate people do desperate things, and they will do the unthinkable. And you want to be ready. Make sure that you have made preparations for your animals. Okay, you've got the food that they need, and take care of whatever needs that they have outside of that. Being able to medicate them if you need to, just like you would for yourself and your family members. Make sure that if you have children, make sure that you have all the things that you need in order to provide for those children. If you have elderly that are in your home, or special needs family members, make sure that you have the preps needed to provide for them as well. Make sure that you have your meds all lined up in the event that something like this happens. So, I have written on here, at first you survive to live. But once you conquer surviving, you begin to live and thrive. So, I'm going to end this because it's been very, very long, and hopefully it was clear, and hopefully I was able to tie it all back. How to survive an EMP? You endure to the end. We don't know what that end or when that end is, but we know that we have to go the length of it. So, what do you need? You need faith, hope, charity, which is love. What do? You pray. You keep the commandments. You get in the Word. Stay in the Word. And I say get in the Word and stay in the Word because there is going to come a time, which is written in the Scriptures, it says this, where we won't have access to the Bible. We won't have access to the Holy Bible. Why? Because it says that there will be a famine, meaning that someday in our time frame, the powers that be will take these away from us. So we need to get it here and here. Okay? So stay in the Word. Get in the Word. Worship and praise is a weapon. Worship and praise is as mighty as a gun in the spiritual realm. Okay, it is as mighty as a gun, and so that is a weapon. So continue with your praise and your worship, and then edify, build up, encourage the brethren. We are in this together. We are not in this alone. We are in this together. If we can remember that, and we can love on one another, and we keep the faith, we encourage one another, we can stand firm. And I want to end on reading Ephesians 6, 12 through 14. Just a reminder. And it reads, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that we may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and have the breastplate of righteousness." And that goes on to establish or to speak more on putting on the whole armor of God. And I know, yes, some of my family members online here have asked me to do a study on putting on the whole armor of God, and I will do that. I have asked the Holy Spirit to help me put that together. So I don't want to just bring any old thing out. I have asked for that. So I will bring that out a little later at another time. But what does it say? It says, stand therefore. It says, take on the whole armor of God, that we may be able to stand during the evil days. The evil days are upon us. Put on that whole armor of God. The evil days are upon us. And we can stand. We can do this. We've got this. We can do this. Again, we are here to edify, build up, and encourage one another. Love on one another. We're not alone. We're in this together. Prepare, people. Prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. That's what we need to do. The warnings have been going out. The shofar has been blowing and loud, and the trumpets have been, sounding. And at this point, we don't have an excuse for not staying alert. And someone chastised me a little bit for saying, stay woke. I'm not gonna change that. That's a black thing. I'm just going to say it like it is. That's a black thing. And maybe some of you guys don't get it. But these political people have taken something, again, stolen it, and bastardized it. But I'm holding on to it because that's something that we came up with. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing negative about it. Stay woke means to keep your insight. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention. Stay woke. So I'm not going to get rid of that. If you don't like it, it's a negative thing to you. That's personal. Got nothing to do with me. So I'm going to use that. Stay woke. So anyhow, I'm going to end this by saying what I always do. I love you. I do. But know this. The Most High God, He loves you so much more. Shalom.